Hello, everyone. A very good evening to you all. This is Shama, your host for the evening. Super excited to welcome you all to the second edition of the Product Leadership Festival, the Product Edition. We are on the day 6 of the festival with a brilliant keynote session coming up and more such thought-provoking sessions for you organized till the 22nd of May. The 10-day festival includes keynote talks, panel discussions, fireside chats, and masterclasses by renowned speakers from top tech companies around the world. So once again, a very warm welcome to you all, and thank you for joining us. Let's proceed. The Product Leadership Festival is organized by the Institute of Product Leadership. And as you can see on the slide, we have the Data and Design edition in the coming months. And you have a chance to register for it right now and win exciting prizes as we progress with each edition. Please follow our LinkedIn page as in the comment section to keep yourself updated and be a part of the running contest. So folks, go and register for all the editions right away. Check the chat window for the URL. And for those who have missed out on the strategy edition or the festival that was organized last year, please check the URL in the chat window to watch videos of 50 plus speakers sharing their key learnings and career insights in product, data, design, and leadership. Encouraging you all to share it within your network and spread the knowledge. Now, before we dive into today's insightful session, let me give you a quick intro to the Institute. The Institute of Product Leadership is Asia's first business school providing accredited degree programs and certification courses in product management, product leadership, data science, design, and strategy. The Institute has partnered with 3 universities in India and the University of Houston in the United States. The Institute was founded in 2012 with the singular mission of creating 10,000 product leaders in the country. Ever since, the organization has designed and delivered programs in collaboration with various institutes, universities, and corporates to help the senior working professionals transition into a product leadership role. You can find out all about the institute and the programs offered on our website. Please check the chat window for the URL. Now, here's some exciting news for all the attendees tonight. You have an opportunity to win a free digital course. The best asked question in tonight's session will get this reward. Please scan the QR code on the screen to check out an array of digital courses offered by the Institute. The winner will get to pick a course of their own choice. The Institute offers new age skill courses for every step of your career. Every course is built, curated, and designed by industry practitioners. The Institute of Product Leadership is proud to announce the Atal Innovation Scholarship exclusively for the participants of the festival. The scholarship worth rupees 1 lakh is extended for the EMBA in Product Leadership program offered by the Institute. This is a limited period scholarship, folks, encouraging you all to scan the QR code on the screen and talk to our program counselor right away to get to know the next steps to avail the scholarship. So once the speaker for tonight presents her insights, we'll open up for questions. Please keep your questions ready. You can ask the questions in the Zoom Q&A section. And for those who have joined us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, you can post your question in the comment section and we'll direct them to the speaker. So do not miss out on this opportunity, folks. Ask some really good, intriguing questions to our speaker and win a free digital course. On the last day of the Product Festival, which is on the 22nd of May, we have organized Open Conference Day. Open Conference is a platform for you all to be a speaker and share your knowledge and insights with the world. Aspiring speakers can submit their topics and the shortlisted ones will get to deliver a talk for 30 minutes. Alternatively, please scan the QR code on your screen to vote for the favorite speaker and help them win. So folks, if you have missed out on this opportunity for the strategy edition, please enroll now to be a speaker and bring out the leader in you. Now coming to tonight's session, please allow me to welcome Mr. Sai Satish Vedam, the moderator of this session. Mr. Vedam is the Chief Product Officer, Senior Faculty and Executive Coach at the Institute of Product Leadership. He was most recently the Director of Product Management at Oracle. Great to have you here, Mr. Vedam. Handing the session over to you now.
Thank you, Shama, and good evening, folks. Good evening, all of you, and thanks for joining on a Monday evening, India time, and wherever you're joining from for others. Good morning, good evening. So before we get started, I just want to acknowledge and state that, things around us are pretty tragic. In fact, we've reached tragic proportions now in this country related to pandemic. So I really hope and wish that you all stay safe and stay healthy. And we really hope that these sessions with thought leaders and industry leaders from around the world provide a welcome distraction so that you can gain some practical insights and apply these in your careers and professions. So that is the main intent of even continuing this in this current situation. Right? With that, it is my privilege to introduce to all of you Dr. Shampa Banerjee. Shampa, if you can turn on your camera and so that we can see and make sure that your audio is working, and I can start introducing you as well.
Can you see me now?
Yes.
So, okay. And can you hear me?
We can hear you and see you. All good. Thank you so much for joining in the morning. And a very good morning to you. So before I start with the session by introducing Dr. Shampa Banerjee, I'd like to take a quick minute to re-emphasize what Shama just said. This event is streamed live on, of course, Zoom webinar, as well as YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn Live. So for folks who are joining us on Zoom webinar, please ask your questions in the Q&A box that you see below, not the chat box, because there could be a lot of chatter in the chat box and your question could get lost. Folks who are joining on LinkedIn Live, please go ahead and ask your question in the thread. The team will bring those questions together and I'll bring them and ask at the end of Dr. Shampa's session in the evening today. And let's keep this engaging. I'm sure Dr. Shampa has few poll questions to understand where you are today in your professional careers, what is your responsibility or activities that you do, so that we bring in a more relevant context and focus on the areas that you can benefit on as opposed to what we think that you will benefit on, right? So that way we can get started. So again, it's a great pleasure, Dr. Shampa, to introduce you to our audience here. Now, Shampa has a very, very interesting career trajectory. She is actually a physicist turned product executive, technology and business leader. In fact, she has 2 masters in physics from IIT Kanpur and Case Western, a PhD in theoretical physics, which is always reminds me of, and by the way, theoretical physics have been made popular in India by Dr. Sheldon Cooper, if you know what I mean. Right? And not just that, I think, another fascinating facet of Dr. Shampa is she's a trained Indian classical musician. And apparently at some point, she considered seriously pursuing that as a primary profession. Now, all I can say is the Indian classical music world's loss is product world's gain. Shampa comes with very vast experience in digital media, consumer products, and large-scale SaaS products. She's worked in startups as well as Fortune 100 companies, overseeing their hyper growth from $10 million to $1 billion in revenue. Not many people can say that. Until very recently, Dr. Shampa has been a chief product officer and an executive vice president at Pluto TV, a product of ViacomCBS. And she's created and led product teams reporting to president and the CEO of Viacom Stream. Before, at Pluto TV, she was a chief product officer of Eros Digital. Now, Eros is not a stranger to Indians. Some refer to that as the Netflix for Bollywood, and she has led that team for 5 years, from inception to 100 million active subscribers in 135 plus countries. Now, that is an incredible accomplishment in my view. And she's also held leadership roles before that in very interesting companies. Some of them are pioneering companies and products, right? A product like Social Text, which actually is the first company to deliver social software to business. And as a CTO of Ziff Davis, she actually led a company, a first ever social network for gamers. Now, I'm sure Discord and Twitch have taken a leaf or two from that. Again, welcome for today's discussion, Dr. Shampa. It's a pleasure to have you. over to you for your session. So at the end of it, I'll be monitoring the questions and bring in the relevant ones, and we can try and address them. Thank you again.
Thank you, Sai, for that kind introduction. Good evening, everyone. Well, good morning if there are people from the US attending. And as Sai said, I'm going to repeat my prayers with my country, because India is going through a very hard time right now. I hope everyone is safe and everyone is keeping their relatives safe. A quick question, should I be sharing the presentation or would you be sharing it? Disturbing when you're making a presentation to an audience on Zoom, you don't see anyone. But I'll deal with that discomfort. So today what I wanted to talk to you guys about was building product-led organizations. But before I start the presentation, I would love to do a couple of polls. So if you can do poll number 1, which essentially, okay, so what's happening here? Yes, okay. So in your organization, what's the primary role of the product manager, right? And you have 3 options. The product manager might be doing all 3 things, but what is their primary function? What is the primary role that they do? So if you can choose that.
Folks, I strongly encourage you to take the poll and give us this insight so that the subsequent discussion can be tailored to that.
I need to stop sharing.
So it looks like majority of the folks, at least about 60% of them, believe that the primary role of product manager in their company is to collaborate with stakeholders, gather requirements, and define detailed requirements for engineering. That at least is a 61% of the audience are saying that. Another 25% are saying figure out the most important customer problem.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. Let's do the next one. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, let's do the next one. The next poll, poll number 2.
So just to read that out, who does the head of products in your organization report to in your company? And this is for the benefit of the audience who are joining from other streaming platforms. So as you can see, a majority of them are reporting right now, about 50% or close to 50%, the CEO. And next to the CTO, followed by 25% of them saying the CEO is the head of product.
Super wonderful. So will you again share that? Most of them reporting to, you said 50% to CTO.
Yes, right? About 50% the CEO, 27% the CTO, and 23% okay. The CEO is the head of product.
Okay, it's wonderful. So this is, this is insightful and kind of not very surprising, because before we can talk about building product-led companies, let's first make sure you are a product company. So the folks who do not have a seat at the table, this is who reports into the CEO, people, you're probably not a true product company. So one of the first things my suggestion would be, unless your CEO is the head of product, right? Product needs to get a seat at the table, for your company to be a product company. That's number 1. And the first poll, where we saw, I'm actually quite happy to see that, did you say 25%? The product managers actually are the people who are figuring out the most important customer problem to solve, right? And that's where they're spending most of their time. Versus collaborating with stakeholders, gathering requirements, and defining that seems to be, it's very interesting, because lots of people, many people think that's what product management does. Their job is to sit down and write detailed requirements, right? So I'll start with something very basic. What is a product? What does a product do? What is the base function of product, right? This is the age of product. You hear a lot about products. I don't think product management got so much visibility ever. But I've spent most of my working life in Silicon Valley, and especially I started out in a company called Netscape, which kind of pioneered, a lot of product management. And this definition that you see here of product really comes from Marty Kagan, who's a good friend and an ex-colleague of mine, right? What does product do? It's very simple. We build solutions to customer problems. That's a very important thing, right? The goal is to build a solution. Customer has a problem. We are building solutions to that. But there is a caveat. And the caveat is that solution can't be any solution. It should be usable, right? So it should be easy to use. It should be feasible.
Sorry to interrupt. Do you want to share your slides? I think you.
Oh, it's not being shared. Sorry.
Yeah, you just stopped that. That's okay.
Oh God. Okay, hold on. I'll do that. Can you see now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for that. No problem. Sorry, and I was talking to you all with reference to this slide, right? So essentially the solutions that you're building for the customer problems, right? You should not otherwise be doing anything else, right? That's what product does. Make sure that customer can use them. It's easy to use. But it's also important that engineers can build them. It's technically feasible. It's not too difficult to build, and it's financially feasible, right? It's not too expensive to build. So that is a fine balance that product managers have to come up with, not just a solution, making sure that it's technically and financially feasible. And most importantly, it's viable for the business. It is the job, it is the function of the product manager to figure that out. How do we make money from it, right? So with the reason why I bring this up, it's a very basic definition of product, right? And from the very first poll, as you saw, that's the question I asked. Is the product manager spending most of their time, trying to figure out what is the most important problem to solve for the customer? Because if they're not doing that, then they're not doing their basic function. Writing product requirements, requirement docs, literally, I don't think you need product managers for that. There used to be a function called business analysts a while ago. Maybe they can do that. Engineers can do that. It's a collaborative thing, but that's not the primary function of a product manager. A product manager is not talking to the stakeholders, asking them, hey, what should I build? They should talk to them and find out what their problem is, what is their goal, and then offer a solution to fulfill that, right? And that is the challenge. It's a tricky role, it's an interesting role, and that's why I think so many people want to become product managers. It is one of the most important, most interesting roles, I think, in the industry right now. So with that, I'm going to go to a few more roles to gauge what stage of your company you are in right now. So let's go to poll number 3, right? Which is a prospect. So let's say you're a SaaS enterprise company and you're selling your software. A prospect wants to see your product. How many people do they talk to? No one. They have a link. They can just go to your website, find that link, and just be done with it. They can make an evaluation, or they talk to a few people, like some sales contact, they've sent an email, they request a demo, or is it like a number of cycles of conversations, right? Where is your company? How do you?
So right now we are seeing about 50 to 60% or 60+% of them saying they talk to few people. They request a demo and sales, contacts the prospect, and then do the demo. About 25% of them are saying many iterations or many discussions, discovery call, back and forth, and finally a demo. About 10% are saying none, they get a link to the trial. Right? So,
okay. So that 10% you're in good shape. Okay. Let's get to, okay, that's fantastic. Let's get to the next poll, which is, I'm having a hard time after you show the poll. I cannot move my slides.
Just click on the screen and you can move the slides.
Okay, sorry. Okay, thank you. Okay. Clearly, I don't know how to operate. So sales asks you to build, and we have all faced this. They come, they have this great talk with perhaps the most important customer you have and says, hey, we have to build this new feature, right? What do? Just at sales ask? Of course we do it. They bring in money, we should do it. Well, then you might say that, I don't know. If it's going to bring us enough money, we'll build it. Otherwise, I don't know. The third thing is you actually, hold on, let me see, what about the other customers? Would they also want this feature or maybe a modified version of this feature? Let me do some tests, some research, some tests to find this out and figure out. And the fourth is you have a product vision, product principles, and you kind of evaluate, does this fit into what we are trying to do? And then you make a decision.
Yep, I think we see what's coming in. I really want to emphasize one point, encourage all of you to vote on your current reality, not an aspiration.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Thank you, Sai. Not an aspiration. What's happening today?
Yeah, but I think the 60% of folks are saying evaluate if the feature fits into product vision, principles, and then decide. And about 21% of them are saying research and test to see if other customers find value. 10% of them say build it, of course. Are you kidding? And then about 8% say might build if there is substantial value. Right. So
this is very interesting and slightly in contrast with the first poll, right? So because but it's very interesting. I wish I could ask how many people I should have done this poll. Over here are from enterprise SaaS companies and how many people are actually at consumer companies.
Yeah, we could do that maybe a little later if you want.
Yeah, if you can do that, that would be interesting, So, but this is an interesting, slightly in contrast with, what I thought would have happened, but hey, it's good. And again, there's no good or bad. This is the reality of where you are today, right? So let's go to, I think there's another poll. Okay, let me click on this. Yeah, poll 5, right? So this is customers having an issue with your product. What do? They file a support ticket and support is going to get back to them. You have a help center and they can go there and look for an answer. And third, you have in-app messaging that actually guides the user to a solution. It could be sending them to the right place in the help center, or if the, intelligence, your software has the intelligence that says, hey, let me connect you to someone in support. So which one is it? And this is the current reality of your product that you have today.
Yeah, I'm just giving a few more seconds to get statistically relevant answers. I think about 70% have voted so far. So clearly, the majority seems to think that customer files a support ticket and wait to hear back from the customer support, right? Which has been often the paradigm in many, many product companies.
Absolutely.
The second one is 42% of them say in-app messaging that guides users to the solution in Help Center or directly to support. And only 7% of them say head over to Help Center and look for an answer. So, which essentially seems to indicate that customers rarely look for answers themselves, either file a ticket and wait, or head to the more conversational or interactive ways of getting support.
Yeah. So while we are talking, is it possible for us to run? I didn't have that poll here. Simple. What percentage of the attendees today work for a consumer product company, and what percentage works for enterprise SaaS company?
I believe once we start this session, we may not be able to load new polls, but then we could certainly ask that question on the chat and let people raise their hand, right? So why don't you pose the question and we can encourage audience here to, there is a raise a hand icon on the Zoom and people can just raise their hand.
Yeah, okay. I was able to do this. I have to get back to Zoom now. Oh, hold on. Where am I? Give me a second. Oh, where?
We are seeing your desktop.
I know, but I need to get to Q&A, raise hand. I cannot raise. Okay.
Can I help you with what you're trying to do?
Yes, you can. I'm just trying to get back to I'm just trying to not share full screen and just get to say the only options I have is resume share,
So you
which
can
is not
stop
working
sharing
for me. Huh?
You can stop sharing first and then share only the window that you want.
Yeah, I know, but then I cannot do anything right now. I can't get to Zoom for some reason. Okay, pause share that I was able to do. Show stop share. Okay, let's see. I have to stop share and come back to share again. Okay, that is Zoom needs to get a little feedback. So should I raise hand or should I just put it in Q&A?
Not in Q&A, just ask the question so that even folks on the other screen.
You can ask the question, I can post it in the chat window. And
okay, perfect. The question is what percentage, or how many of you work for a consumer product company? How many work for an enterprise SaaS company or enterprise company?
Great. Consumer product company or enterprise SaaS company. Okay, we are 50-50 on consumer and enterprise.
Okay, that kind of explains a lot actually from what we were seeing, right? So let me do this. Let me get back to, okay, let me get back to the polls. And so poll number 3, remind me, there was most people I think was number 2, right? 65% and above was number 2, where they request a demo.
That is correct.
Right? Request a demo and they contact us. It's very interesting because this is kind of, the second generation, or rather, the first generation is number 3 is first generation. This is how enterprise software was sold before, right? You had a discovery call, there was back and forth with sales, then they asked people to come on, do demos for them, and then finally the process went on, right? And then where we went from there was, there was sales that was reaching out, right? Inside sales that was reaching out to prospects, and they were sending them, either links or some kind of contact, and they were getting together for a demo. Then things evolved a little further, and you could come to the company site because your companies could be found with search, with the SEO, your companies could be found. People found your company site and found what they were looking for. There was a lot of content marketing. Marketing was doing a lot of content marketing, and people would come in, and it happens today too. In fact, most of the companies, enterprise companies, they ask you for your business email, and then they send you a demo link, or they set up a demo for you. And, getting a link to the trial, that is a small number, a handful. And I think we got quite a few here, didn't we, that got a link to the trial. Now, consumer companies, typically, they don't really have sales. If they have sales, then I don't know, I'm not quite sure consumers find the product, they start using it, right? And they have to like the product or they don't use it. Sales has a different function there, right? So the interesting part with this thing is that I have personally encountered, this in my last, my last company was looking for a subscription platform for the product. And by the way, I'll be sharing my experiences with you. In some cases, I might name the company. In some cases, they're all true things that happened. I might not name the company for lots of reasons. I've signed documentation, so I can only share so much, but I'll share the incidents. We were switching out a subscription platform that was built by the company itself, and we said we needed to go to an enterprise platform. And I was looking at companies. There were 3 companies that came. You went to their site, you were able to just get the link. The engineers were able to immediately test out and see the APIs and see the trial was 14-day trial or 30-day trial. You could find out. Unfortunately, for this particular product, I needed support for a lot of international support, international subscription methods, so I unfortunately could not go with these platforms, but there were true SaaS product-led companies where there was no sales at all. There would have been a sales conversation after the trial period was over, but you could just be seamless. You could just get into it. And for these other companies, unfortunately, we had to go with one. I had to go through a lot of this 3 and 2. And they're cumbersome, they're long, it's expensive for the company that's trying to convert a prospect. And the prospect is kind of frustrating for the prospect, right? So these companies are not very product led, definitely not 3. 4 is clearly sales led, right? So that's, I mean, pole 4, if you build it, if sales asks you, you're a sales led company. And that used to be the norm. That's how it worked for a long time, right? And I was very surprised to see that companies have such clear vision and product principles, and they have the discipline. A new request comes in, they're evaluating it against that. And I'm very pleasantly surprised, right, if that's happening. And that is indeed a good way to proceed. And the 5th one was customer. Now, I have a very interesting story with this. This is a consumer product, of course. I was flying from San Francisco to Rome, and I had to take 3 planes. I had to go from San Francisco to New York with United, from New York to London in British Airlines, and from London to Rome from New York to London in Virgin, and then from London to Rome in British Airlines. On my way back, and there were 3 different flights. There was one ticket. I mean, it was one ticket, but there were 3 different airlines who were not talking to each other. When I got up in Rome, the flight was slightly late. And British Air said that, well, we think we will be on time. We don't know, we'll be late. And that a connection to Virgin, they said, no, don't worry, we'll take care of that. But United, no, we don't know. So I was sitting on my flight and I tried changing my ticket. I said, I'll miss my flight. Let me change my ticket, and I was sitting trying to do that. A chatbot came up, immediately. And it started asking me questions, and it was inane conversation. But, right after 2, like we spoke twice, it immediately said, do you want a live agent, right? And I said, yes. I couldn't really speak to anybody. The flight was almost ready to take off. So agent came, 2 minutes, my flight got rebooked to the next flight. Everything was done. I was so happy. That was a moment of delight for me. The chatbot didn't understand my request. It didn't waste time. It routed my request to a live person who didn't talk to me, but who was very efficient, understood my question and answered. So, in-app messaging, when done well, because AI is still not at a state where it understands everything. But if it's done well, human and machine interacting in an intelligent manner can be a very delightful experience. So I just wanted to kind of do that. And this kind of all leads to the fact, the way we were building products, way companies run, there were 2 sides of it. One side of the company built and the other side of the company sold. That's traditionally how we've been doing business, right? And the build part is the cost center. The sell part is actually that brings in the revenue. And therefore they have a little bit of an upper hand always, right? Because I'm bringing the money in. Things with a product-led company, and things have changed in the recent past, in the last 10 years, 10, 15 years, things have changed, right? And what has primarily changed is this equation. There's a shift in how this product is getting sold, right? The product, in product-led organizations, the product becomes the customer experience. It is the core DNA of the company. You're not thinking of building the product separately and then having another team figuring out how do I sell this product? What do I do? Do I do a dog and pony show to sell this product? That equation has shifted. That has changed, right? And in product-led organizations, the whole idea is to use the product. All functions use the product. We still have sales. We still have marketing. We have every function, but everyone is using the product to solve their problem. So the product is in service of the customer. The customer is in the center of the equation. That is the primary difference of a product-led organization. Now, for consumer companies, it has long been the case, right? The product is the center. The product is at the center. The product is serving the consumer. But in enterprise software, in enterprise SaaS software, this was not the case, right? It was, and still not the case in many companies, right? But it's gradually, there's a shift, it's changing. And companies who have actually taken up, who've decided to become product-led, they're very, very successful. You know, like Zoom. You see Zoom. Zoom is a product-led organization. Zoom, when you want to buy Zoom, you really need no one. You go, you test the product, everything is built into the product. You can use the product as a free service, and then depending on the conditions, depending on how you want to use it, you can upgrade to a paid service, or you can choose not to, you can continue to be freemium, right? And Zoom is not spending money on sales or huge amount of money on sales or marketing, right? The investment in product is such that it does not mean product is doing everything, but the product is being built in such a manner that both sales and marketing and even customer success can use it. So that's a primary. The other one is Slack. All of us use it. And all these companies, they're all product-led organizations, and they've been very, very successful. There's Dropbox, there is Box, there's Trello, of course, Atlassian, Confluence, we all use it. These are all companies that have been built, they're product-led organizations. Now, there's one little caveat in product-led organizations: who is responsible for revenue? Earlier on, when you had the build side and the sales side, it was very clear who is responsible for revenue. Now, there are companies that have a separate growth team who kind of is responsible for ensuring that every team the product grows, and they're kind of equating that to the revenue. But then there's the other model where everyone has P&L responsibility. So I personally opt for the latter, because if you remember, when we started off, what product's main job is, one of the main job is to make money, figure out a way. The solution has to make money for the business. That's one of the primary equations for product. So I personally feel products should have, most companies, they do have, at least here I know, a P&L responsibility, but if they don't, they absolutely should have. And if you ask me, I think everybody in the company should have P&L responsibility, right? So that makes them more accountable, more focused on building the right product for the customer. So you've all heard of product-led growth. Product-led growth is a subset of a product-led organization. And really, this is how this whole thing started, with how we were selling things. So the product was being built, keeping in mind how we are going to sell it. So in the 80s and 90s, it was a relationship-based sales model where the CIOs ruled. The CIOs made the decision, what enterprise product are we going to buy? And there were lots of reasons for that, because they were in charge. It was on premise. They had to install it. They had to maintain it. It was their headache, right? And so sales and CIOs made the decisions. They had a relationship, and based on that, products got chosen, right? Brands were important. Brand names were important. It was very hard for new companies to come in. Then came the 2000s. People like Salesforce came in and disrupted things. They kind of moved things into the cloud. And also remember, we had Google, we had search, we had SEO. So the non-technical C-level execs from these companies actually had visibility into what could be, what is out there. And they started looking at these enterprise products with a different lens. And this became more like, marketing started taking a bigger lead than sales here in making these contacts and kind of helping these sales happen. And a lot of us are kind of still stuck here, right? At this level, where the C-level execs are making the decision on what enterprise products are going to be adopted by the company. And they look at things like ROI, if I spend so much money, what will it do for my employees, right? What am I going to get out of it, right? But then after 2010, the era came of, users rule, right? The end users, because the enterprise, no matter if you have an enterprise product, there's a user who's using it, right? And it could be an API-based product, in which case the engineers are using the APIs, right? So it has to be, but the users users have the power to make a choice, right? And users have become very sophisticated now with the consumer products that they have. And they expect more value from the product, right? So the whole thing changed a little bit with the product-led growth movement, if I may call it. I think they started calling it around, I don't know, middle 2015, 16, I think this name got coined. But essentially, we have had this for a while, a little bit, and the idea is to design for the end user. Like, what problem will it solve for the end user? And then you actually, instead of saying, let's make a sale, let's get money out of it, you give value to the end user, let them use it, let them see that this thing has value, right? It's solving my problem. And you have to show the value very, very quickly, right? So before you bring in your, customer success and sales team to sell the big, enterprise product to the company, you have to make sure the people who are going to use it like it. In fact, they are going to be your marketing champions. They will tell the C-level execs in the company, buy this product. We want to use this product. This is helping get our jobs done, right? And so when you build these products, you invest in data analytics. You're looking at the growth loops. You're running experiments, because you're continuously monitoring how the product is getting used and how you can bring value quickly to the user, right? So there's a slight difference in how these products are getting built, how these products are getting defined. Instead of having a bunch of features go in, you're looking at what will this solve? Let me solve the customer's problems. Let me see how it's getting used. And based on that, I'll keep making improvements and quickly keep making improvements. And therefore, you have to build in product analytics, and you have to have not only the mindset to do experiments, but you have to have the infrastructure to do experiments, right? So that's how product-led companies started growing. And as I named some of them, bunch of them, what should I say? These companies are doing really, really well, right? So Shopify is one of them. All these people, they went IPO, and they're just like it. The investment initially in the product is high, but think of it: you're not investing as much in sales and in marketing. You're investing in the product, and you're growing the product. You're building the product in a manner that is much more appealing to the customer, the end user. And they become your champions. They become your marketing people. They like the product and they use it, right? So, okay. The next question is the product-led strategy, is this correct for you? Is this the right strategy for you? So you have to make sure, I don't know, depending on what product you have, right? And this really pertains much more to enterprise product than consumer products, because consumer products in this day and age, if they're not product-led, I don't think they'll succeed much. So it's really meant more for enterprise products, right? So you have to make sure, the marginal cost per user is low, right? Because there's economy of scale. That's how these products are built, right? So therefore you can have a freemium model. It doesn't cost you that much to add new customers, right? So, and then the users who are going to be your champions, who do the marketing for you and sales for you, they have to have the buying power. So whatever your product is, they need to be able to convince their company to buy it, right? And also whatever solutions are there today, hopefully they're not very good. Otherwise, it'll be very, very hard for you to enter, right, this market. So you have to make sure the market conditions are right for you. And then it has to have some unique value, right? So, and you need to be able to show the unique value very quickly. They have to very quickly, the user needs to understand, I couldn't get this before, now I have this, right? And also, many of these products, they have, like, think of Zoom. Zoom, you get to see almost everything. You get all the value in the free product. You just have a 45 minutes time limit, but you get to see, you can experience the product in its full capacity. And okay, give me a second here. Someone is saying something to me. Sai, are you saying something to me, or are you guys saying something?
No. I think
okay. Sorry.
there might be people posting questions in Q&A, so you can.
I see. I keep seeing it's like, okay, hopefully, So that's the important part, that, and then the product, the way you're building it, it has to have, acquisition funnels built in it. Like if you have sharing, think of Slack. You're inviting your coworkers to come and chat with you, communicate with you. It's built into the product, right? Think of Zoom or Calendly. You are inviting somebody to come. So there's these acquisition channels are already built into the product, right? So this is how you need to build a product, So you have to make sure your product has these attributes, right? And then also, if you're selling this product, if you're having a enterprise company trial this product, you have to have internal champions. You have to convince the end user. You have to have the end users love you. So when I was the company called Social Text, which was actually a very innovative company for its time, we were the first enterprise social collaboration platform. And later on, we got acquired by HR company. But we had something, a part of the product was called Signals. And this was before Slack, believe you me. It was before Slack, Signals, which is actually very, very rich. And we were even selling Signals separately to some companies. And we had very large customers like the HUD, Housing and Urban Department. And then we also had fun customers like the Blue Man Group, the music group. They were all using us. They're running their companies on this platform. However, we had a very sales-savvy enterprise sales that was doing the selling for us. The product was built right. The product had trials built into it. You could almost, you could start running. I could share a link with you. You could start running mostly, without much hand-holding. We did have a very good professional services team that would go and kind of enhance your experience maybe, but and we were successful. Then we were working with the CMO, I think, of PayPal. Right? Big company PayPal. And we were almost close to making the sales when guess what? Slack was out and their engineering team, they were all using Slack. And when our product was brought to them, because the engineering team, the end users had not seen the product. It was the C-level execs who had seen the product and had really liked it. The engineers had, no, we have Slack. We don't need this new product. And we lost to Slack. And in a similar story, because we had enterprise sales, we were selling to larger customers. We were not selling to smaller customers. We were not capturing them because it was not worth it. I went to another company, as we all know, Eros International. Eros now, when I started it, it was small company. I was in Redwood City here. Some of my team was in India. So we said, we need something. We need a sort of enterprise platform or a collaboration platform. Well, I came from collaboration platform, but guess what? I couldn't afford my own product. We didn't have more than 100 people at that time. So we could not, so I had to buy licenses from my competitor, from Confluence, from Atlassian. So you have to kind of make sure the product-led strategy actually is right for you. You have to make sure before you kind of jump into it. But if you are a startup trying to create a new product, or you are ready, you understand the value of a product-led strategy, which is some upfront investment into the product, and that'll pay back later, then this is the path for you to take. So I'm just going to quickly go through, I don't know how much time we have. I don't think we have much time. So I'm going to quickly kind of go through this in order to be, why would you want to be product-led? Well, there are a number of things that have changed, right? We can now in real time measure, analyze, respond to customer data. So you can have that built into the product based on the customer's actions, but customer journey, they can be shown a different path. Earlier on, we were collecting data, we had to analyze data. It was offline, right? And we did this, intelligence did not reside in the product. Today, we have the capability of doing that, right? The other thing is, why would a product want to become, a company want to become product-led, is new products are coming to market that will essentially, make you extinct. You won't live anymore because it's a low barrier to entry. Getting a product into the market is very easy now, right? And if the product is built right, that allows you to acquire, retain, upsell, self-serve customers, essentially following a product-led strategy, then that product will not, will kind of, you will become extinct, right? So that's one of the reasons for you to rethink, look at your product and see how can you make changes to hop into this new way of, new way of reaching the customer. Customer behavior has changed. People expect delight from, they're used to delightful consumer products. So they expect even the enterprise products they're using at work to be good, to have good quality product that, allows them to do things quickly, easily, in a pleasant manner. And the fourth thing, is, what has led to this movement, I think to a certain extent, finally product, finally we have analytics. We have a system of record, unlike, sales always used to walk into meetings with their dashboards, right? And so did marketing. What did product on? We have launched XYZ products this quarter, and next quarter we'll be launching so many products, right? But now we have things, we have measurements, we have records, we can show customer engagement, other records, that show that how what kind of outcome is the product, accomplishing, and how does that relate to revenue? How does that relate to the bottom line of the company? A product can do that today. So these are the four factors that essentially has allowed products to move into this product-led era, right? Now, how to become a product-led org? I don't know how much time I have. So do I have time, Simon?
We're just about closing time. I think another, if you could wrap that up in another 3-4 minutes.
Yeah, I'll just try to now. I'll just not go into details, but
Sure.
like there are four things, that you really three big buckets, really, essentially. You leverage data. The first thing is build the product in such a way that you're capturing and monitoring and looking at data right from the get-go, right? You have clear product goals. You understand who you're building the product for, why you're building the product. You understand the competitive landscape, and you build data from the bottom up, right? You build experimentation into the product. You don't wait for it. Let me first launch the product, then I will integrate into some A/B testing framework, and then, no, you need to build it right from the beginning, right? And even if you're an enterprise product, you have to ask yourself the question, will this delight my customers? Will the end users love this product? Build that, go into it, leverage data, and use data to gauge that, right? The product is the center of the customer experience. So you just don't build the product for, for acquiring customers or for the customers to do their job to solve their problem. You keep in mind customer acquisition, customer retention, right? Upselling, cross-selling, you take that into account, right? And that's how you kind of build the product with the customer experience in mind, right? Build that into the product from the get-go. That's how you do it. And if you're on existing product, then this is what you need to start introducing into the product, right? And also the way you deliver the product, right? So if you have a vision, you have to have a clear vision for the product and a very robust strategy. Most companies don't have a product strategy, I've noticed. They do have a product roadmap. And the roadmaps are usually kind of a list of features. And those features soon become like, redundant, or they become kind of obsolete because the market conditions are changing, right? Technology is changing, right? So you need to start with the vision and the strategy. The strategy is something that's much more permanent. I believe, in my last company, one of the things I did was create strategic roadmaps. Roadmaps need to be dynamic. The details of the roadmaps, you have to understand, what is this going to accomplish for me? And you need to be able to react to making changes very quickly to it, right? You have to work, I think this probably many companies do. You have to kind of work very closely with design. So before building the product, you just don't do it. You actually do a lot of testing. You iterate the prototype. You understand what your consumers want. And it has to be a very close collaboration with product. You have to continue doing A/B tests right from the get-go. See, marketing needs to be built into the product. So you build something new, a new feature, promote it within the app, right? And another thing is keep looking at the metrics. And if you see certain features are not being used, your customers no longer want it, retire those, right? Because you don't need a bloated product with features that are no longer being used, right? And finally, I say one of the big things in product that people love, we have 9,000 frameworks that helps us how to prioritize, and they're all artificial. I say start with a very simple concept. Look at all the things you want to solve for the customer and start with the most important problem for the customer. So let's say you're a streaming company, and I give this example because I just came from, last 8 years, that's the space I've been working in. Well, if you're actually streaming and you're buffering, forget any other feature, right? That is, the customer has come to watch something, using your product. And if they cannot watch it, forget anything else, nothing matters. So that is the most important, roadmap item that you need to solve. That is the highest on the map, right? So for me, the product managers need to really look at the roadmap, all the things you want to build, and that'll solve the customer's problem, and ask yourself, but what is the most important one? What's stopping my customer from doing what they want to do? And that's, I think, the lens through which you prioritize versus using a lot of artificial, if I did this feature, I'll probably book so much revenue for the company. Most of them are guesswork, so you don't know what it is. And, and we do, all these different frameworks, you can use them, but keep in mind, prioritize, keeping in mind what is most important for the customer, and go down the list in that manner. Okay, so I just quickly rushed through these, and I think, thank you, and I'm ready for questions.
Great. There are a few questions that have come in both on the Zoom as well as LinkedIn, but we'll pick a couple of them in the interest of time. One of the things that it seems that several people at least are trying to ask, and I'll paraphrase it with what Rohit Devnath on LinkedIn has asked. Now, it looks like product-led organization requires a different set of DNA, or at least cultivate that approach and mindset, right?
Absolutely.
Now, how would you deal with a situation when you acquire a company which either you as a parent is not product-led, but the company that you're acquiring is, or vice versa, right? Maybe in the case of Viacom and Pluto TV, if that was a situation. If not, even otherwise, that would create a tremendous amount of friction, because the product-led teams or product-led organization that you're getting in has a very different approach towards everything, right? Marketing, sales, customer success, product design, and everything, as you mentioned, all of that. Now, wouldn't that conflict, and how would you suggest anyone to deal with such kind of things?
So that's a very good question. And actually, I faced it recently, right? Well, not faced it, it was not that much of a friction. Thankfully, there's a consumer companies, and everyone, I think you start with the customer. You start the whole approach with the customer. Who are we building the product for? If you're building for the customer, if you want the business to succeed, who do you want to keep happy? The customer. You're going to lose the customer otherwise. The conversation starts that way. So, typically in my case, let's say we have business development, there was no sales per se, right? So business development, and it's important, right? You built a product, and that product then needs to be distributed to different platforms. And that's what business development is doing, making these relationships, right? Marketing is there. Marketing is doing partially something more modern marketing using the product, but also old-fashioned marketing, right? And one of the ways to change the dialogue is start talking about the customer. We are all in it. We all want to serve the customer, right? So marketing does not want to serve anyone else. I think the important thing starts, first thing, product has to have a seat at the board. If you don't have a seat at the board, if you're not sitting, a seat at the table rather, if you're not with them, if you're reporting to one of them, then forget it. I don't think you can do it, right? Yeah. That's number one, needs to happen. But when you're there, I think coming to an agreement, what are our objectives as a company, as a business, starting there. So if this is our objective, I usually start with, I was talking to marketing, and marketing had a list of features, and they said, can you build this for me? So I just said, let's forget that for a moment. What is your objective? What will make you successful? What will make us successful? Because at the end of the day, this is what we are trying to hit, right? And they said, okay, to reduce my customer acquisition cost.
Right.
And that's right there. You go, okay, what if I build that into the product?
Yeah.
I build a loop into the product that will reduce the cost. So that's how you it is a matter of influence. It is a matter of logically reasoning with them. Product management to a very large extent, and if you do not have the ability to influence, right, you will not succeed in that role. So I think that's how you change the discussion. That's how you start looking at it and showing alternatives. And at the end of the day, understanding what makes them successful, what makes the company successful, focusing the product-led conversation in that direction.
Excellent. I think we'll take one more question. I think the question from Narottam is, in typically enterprise SaaS products or any B2B products, one of the challenges that you face is reaching out to the end user, because when you say customer, of course, there is an economic buyer and there is a user.
There's a buyer and there's a user.
Right? Yeah. But when we're talking about understanding the user of the product, challenges faced are reaching out to those users to help to get their inputs, to get their feedback on design. Is there something that you have used in your experience, how to reach out to a set of people to get, especially users, some feedback on that design?
So that's kind of interesting. Users in an enterprise situation, yes, you have to work with, depending, do you have other customers who are similar? And then you have a relationship with that customer, right? If it is a product-led company and the product is built with the right instrumentation, you're looking at your other customers, there are end users using it, you already know how the product is being used. So if you don't have customers, if you're going to reach out to a brand new customer, then you need to understand that you should be able to, you have to work with if you're a product-led customer in a company, then of course the product will be helping marketing and sales, right? But if you're not, you have to partner with marketing and sales to get to the end user, because at the end of the day, even marketing and sales wants to make the sale, right? You have the same objective. You want to sell your product and you want the customer to be happy. The customer will only be happy if their end users are happy. So again, as I said, one of the things, if you want to become product-led, one of the you have to, and your users don't have the buying power, then that'll be it's a very difficult challenge. I think that's a different equation that depends who you're trying to sell to, right? But I think you can work with your teams to get to the end user.
Great. So in the interest of time, I want to acknowledge some folks who have been asking questions, but we couldn't get to take them. But really appreciate if they reach out to you, Shampa. Happy if you can.
I'll be more than happy, and that's why I kind of left my email at the end of the presentation. Or if they, however, I'll be very happy to answer questions. Absolutely. I'm sorry this took a little longer than I had expected.
No, that's fine. I'm sure many people really are interested in the topic and can go on for more time, but just to keep interest of other people's time. So Satish, Rohit Nagpal, Kalyani, Gaurav, feel free to reach out to Dr. Shampa for the questions that you've asked, and I'm sure she'll be happy to take that. Now, just to wrap this up, I think it makes sense. I think to summarize this, some few key takeaways, and I'll try to see how best I can based on some notes that I've made. So one thing you mentioned, you brought up is a product-led strategy or go-to-market strategy requires a strong alignment, a complete alignment from the product team, the marketing team, the sales team, and the customer success team, right? And many people think that when you emphasize a lot more on the product-led growth, the traditional role of marketing diminishes and the traditional role of sales diminishes, which may be kind of true, but the traditional role now morphs into new types of activities. As you just said, the marketing can now more focus on reducing that customer acquisition cost by building in capabilities or asking product teams to build in capabilities to get more customers, right? I think there's a term now that is used called PQLs. Earlier it used to be
Absolutely,
MQLs, SQLs,
product led. Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Now it's
yeah.
product qualified leads. And of course, the marketing
And used to be MQL, marketing qualified leads before, right? And their qualifications, how they did it was different.
Yeah.
And even marketing will agree with you
Yeah.
that the product led, leads, the product qualified leads actually are far better leads because they're, so they're getting better quality customers. And so the cost of customer acquisition is really going down, right?
Really
by
going
doing
down.
that.
So you don't have to do a lot of demand generation, lead generation activities. Focus on
Right.
how these prospects are using the product, because the product would have been given away for free or easy to access and easy to onboard. And marketing can focus on developing the thought leadership content based on the product usage behavior, right? So identifying those moments within the product to do that. Now on the sales
and for
side,
sales, actually, I'll say quickly to address one of the things, as you said, sales role.
Yeah.
Sales actually, you know what, you still need sales because some of these are big, large enterprise sales, and depending on your customer, the buyer, but you know what, sales has been more successful. In fact, many of these very successful, product-led companies, they have done, it was seamless. They did not need sales for smaller companies when they sold, but larger companies. However, it made sales jobs so much easier, and they were able to get. So essentially, this is not saying that these roles go away.
Yeah.
These departments may become smaller, but their jobs, you're now giving them tools, much better tools, for them to actually do their jobs.
That's true. So that sales teams especially can focus on the large upgrades or renewals, or what you call typically land and expand, right? So
right. They are going on upsells and cross sells, and they have the tools now. It's so much easier for them. They don't have to make up these giant decks, and kind of sales job is very stressful when you think of it. Right?
And that brings me to the other point, which is you're talking about tools, especially the product usage behaviors, the customer profiles that are using this product, and then use that information to target better. Also would require, I think many organizations are seeing the need for this, called a new role called product operations role. Right. And
some people, that it's either that or it can be built into. In fact, at ViacomCBS, I created, because I needed a data team within the product team. We had BI, which was separate, but I needed someone, to do A/B testing and all that, to focus across the different. People are doing product ops. That's a very new thought. So I'm not sure how many. I think Pendo. They have. Todd has. He has kind of been champion.
I think a lot of the examples that you gave of product-led companies are now starting to set up that organization, including I know of Zoom and Slack, Atlassian, all these guys.
Yes, they are doing that because it kind of helps. It's very useful. Someone is dedicated full time on that, right? Working on that. I hired somebody from Netflix actually at ViacomCBS who was leading that role within. Who came in. She's like a data. Test experimentation, multi, A/B testing. She's like, this is like she's done all her life, and to do it. It's like testing, people say I'm testing, but at times when you look at the test, that test tells you nothing. That's a crazy test, right? You really need these things need to be done well, done properly, not just done. So, and these tools exist now. That's the beauty of it. But you're right.
I think that's a great wrap up. Thank you so much. Over to you, Shama. If you can, Shampa, if you can hang on for another minute, and then we'll wrap this up, right?
Sure.
Thank you very much, folks. I love the enthusiasm and energy at this point in time, at this time of the day, asking good questions. So congratulations to Rohit from LinkedIn for asking that questions. Please reach out to the team for your guided learning giveaway access to it. And there's a leaderboard. It's like a game for all of you who are joining. Invite your friends and colleagues for these events so that they can benefit from these sessions as well. And the more you invite, you get a points and you get at the top of the leaderboard, and you get some amazing gifts as well, right? So cool, author signed books from the faculty at IPL, or some Amazon vouchers, or even digital courses that you can access. Couple of quick announcements before we go. I think one of the main purpose and objective of running these events is to nurture a product community in this country, and there is already a very thriving 1,600 plus product professionals in this community. Do sign up. Just scan the QR code or go to community.productleadersforum.org. There's a lot of discussion, sharing of information, content, and several C-level executives in products are part of that. The other one is close to my heart, started by the alumni of the Institute of Product Leadership with the intent of establishing a baseline study of the state of product management in India. And it's actually a little lengthy survey. It will take you about 10-15 minutes. So please do take that at your leisure, interesting.today/benchmark survey, or scan the QR code. And once you take it, you will get a nice report that gives you some very useful information about the salary levels of product managers in India. What do they do day to day? And what are the hiring managers looking for to hire into these roles? With that, Dr. Shampa, thank you so much. And please accept a small token of appreciation from the Institute of Product Leadership. Again, thanks for joining in the morning. Appreciate you doing that.
Thank you. This was a very pleasant way for me to, spend my early morning.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah.
Be all of you be safe, please.
Thank you so much. Take care. And folks, tomorrow an interesting session on ecosystem partnerships. If you are a product manager, you obviously would have encountered working with partners. Could be technology partner, distribution partner, sales partners, or various other partnerships. So Bader Hamdan from Google will join us tomorrow for the discussion. Until then, thank you and good night. Good evening, good day.
Thank you, Dr. Shampa, for the brilliant session, and thank you, Sai Satish, for moderating the session. And audience, as usual, thank you for joining in. But I request you all to take a few seconds to share your feedback on this session via the poll on the screen. Please take the poll and let us know your thoughts. It's critical for us to make improvements for the next round of the festival. Thank you, folks, for sharing your feedback. Hoping to see you all tomorrow at 8 p.m. with yet another insightful session. And thank you for the amazing participation tonight. With that note, I end tonight's session. Happy learning and stay skilled. Have a great night.